Blast off. All right, so this is an addendum, basically, to what we did yesterday. So essentially what happens is, and I figured this out because you notice yesterday I was looking through menus and stuff like that, and I couldn't figure out what I had literally done just a couple days before of being able to reposition, okay, the unwrapping of the object. So you can see here on the left, I've got my wood grain texture, and you can see on the right, I've just done a basic chair here. I've done all my creases. I unwrapped the object, and now what I can do is I can actually decide how I want each one of these sections of the chair. I can decide how I want the wood grain oriented. So if I go back and I look at this, okay, I can go over here, set this to textured, and it's going to put the textures right on the object. And I can see right away, I'm really not a fan of how the wood grain texture is vertical here, but horizontal here. So what I want to do is I want to kind of take this and I want to rotate it. So what you can do here is you can actually go through, let's make this a little smaller here. Oh, okay, well. Make this a little bit. There. So what I can do is I can zoom in on this a little bit, and I can individually select certain pieces of this to rotate them. So if I just go and I right-click on this object here, okay, now I can hit the G key for grab, and I can rotate it. See that? Okay. It's attached probably to the back, or I can hit the R key to rotate it, okay, so that it's going to have a little bit of a better texture. The other thing is, you know, it's kind of like a puzzle piece, as I said yesterday. So some things maybe are too big, and I can't rotate what I might want. Blender's going to try and size everything and put all the different seams together in such a way so that it maximizes the amount of space that you have in the texture or the JPEG that you're using for your texture. So you may have to scale things down. So what key button do you think you might push to scale something down? You guys are awesome. Exactly. So yesterday I was looking through all those menus. G for grab, so you can move things around, S for scale, and R for rotate. The other thing that you can also do, and this is a little weird, but it's kind of cool, is you can actually grab individual points on these outlines here, which represent our seams. So if I grab this point here, and I start to, and I grab it, and I hit the G key, and I start to move it, can you see over in the texture, see how the texture is warping and changing on the side of the chair there? Okay, so I'm actually stretching it. If you overlap, okay, you're actually going to then repeat that same piece of the texture on multiple parts of the object. So you can overlap objects or seams if you want to. You can do that. You just got to realize that that means that the same texture will then appear on two portions of your object. So what I might want to do here, let me left click, undo, is I can start selecting. Now there's a couple different ways of selecting too. By the way, one of my favorites, and we're going to use this later on as we start modeling more objects, is hit the C key. And the C key gives you a little brush. And as you click with the left button, it starts selecting different objects. And then you can hold the Option key down to unselect objects. Then you right-click again to get rid of the brush, and now I can hit the G key and I can move this over. I can hit the R key to rotate it. G key to move it. Let's see how that fits right there. I like that a lot better. I think that now the texture going down along the side here works a lot better with my chair than it did before. Don't you agree? Yes. I think so too. It makes sense. It makes more sense that way. And then here the texture going vertically along this crease, that makes more sense. And then here also around the back, this might be where I might want to, There we go. You have to have everything selected. That's another thing I noticed is if I right-click here on an edge or something, the UV mapping goes away. And my mistake was to try and get down here and start finding it down in the menus. And the problem was that what ended up happening is I was creating multiple maps on top of it. All you have to do is go over into your user perspective and hit the A key so that everything is selected and then the map comes back. So all of your vertices and your edges have to be selected in your chair in order for you to edit the map. And then over here, you can start adjusting things. So if I want to do the back of the chair here, I just look at what's going on here, and I can see this angled thing. So that means these guys must be it. So these are the bottom of the legs here. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down. I don't need them here. So I'm going to see if I can select them. Grab them. Oh my. Oops. So this is where the circle thing really helps. The problem being there, now I've just selected a bunch of other pieces, so I'm going to have to get rid of those. Okay, now let's try grabbing this. Whoops. There we go. Let's try grabbing them now. There we go. So now I can move them over here, and I can change what's happening to my to the feet. But more importantly, what I can now do is I can grab this. I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to grab it and move it up here for just a bit. And then I'm going to take, this is the back here, right? I'm going to circle select all these. Right click. Now I'm going to rotate that. And you can see how the texture is now rotating on the back here. Grab it, move it here. And now I'm going to have a real basic and very specific problem. And that is I don't have room for the seat. So I can hit the C key. Again, take this, right-click, grab it. Oops, I selected both. C key again, Option key to unselect the bottom one. Right-click again, G for grab, and then what I can do is once I get this in here, S to scale, and I can hopefully get that scaled so that it fits right in with the texture. And then again, if it overlaps a little bit, that's probably not a horrible thing. Okay? And now if I just go back to my default here, and I set this to textured, you can start seeing the fruits of my labor. So this side is looking good here. Now I need to kind of work on this side because I don't like the fact that's horizontal. And I also need to figure out why the texture is not going on the legs at all. I only have one seam on them, so it probably wants 2 seams would be my guess, or maybe even 4 seams, 1 for each side, and I can control those specifically. I'd have to just play with that. But you can kind of see how that starts to take the textures and wrap them around your object, and how with the seams you can control exactly how that mapping happens. Does this make sense? And then your keystrokes are S for scale, G for grab, which moves it around in the X and Y locations on the texture, and then R rotates it. The rest is basically like a nice big puzzle piece. Any questions? Awesome. Get to work.